But when you look at USC's resume before this NCAA tournament, didn't deserve all that much respect. They didn't have a single win this regular season over a team that advanced in the NCAA tournament. But they took out the Big East champs, Boston College. Now they take on the SEC champs from Kentucky and Henry Bibby's team. That's been the MO in this tournament. They jump out to a lightning quick start, just jumping on people early.
Well, I thought they got a great performance out of Blumenthal. He was absolutely sensational. 27 points. He had 20 against BC. He made all kinds of big threes.
And Sam Clancy heroically playing through a groin injury there with the putback. Trojans led 43-24, Kentucky's largest halftime deficit of the season. But Saul Smith finds Bogans. He would heat up after a 1-for-8 first half, back within 11. Then Saul trying to prolong his career, 1 of 5 threes. Cats back within 6. Trepanier would drive, dish it to Clancy. Time after time, he had big shots. Trojans back up by 4. Bogans cuts it to 1. Kentucky all the way back, but they could never get tied or get the lead. Granville, Trepanier has had a huge NCAA tournament, and the Trojans fight off the Kentucky run, go back up on top. Bogans going coast to coast, cuts it to 3 with 43 seconds to go, but then Fitch blocked by Clancy. Eric Daniels there for the putback. Kentucky back within 1 with 32 to go. Bogans misses a pair of free throws. This was critical as the Trojans maintain the 3-point lead, and then Blumenthal, a chance to expand the lead, knocks down free throws. He was big down the stretch. Besides critical threes, he was big at the line. Tayshaun Prince held to 6 points on 2 of 8 shooting. Kentucky wins the battle of the boards big, but they fall to USC. The guys from South Central Los Angeles. Kentucky couldn't handle us, and Henry Bibby excited afterwards.
The team doesn't give up. You know, we peaked at the right time of the year, and that's what I was really looking for. We played maybe 5 games where we didn't play well. We just weren't organized. We weren't, you know, playing with any enthusiasm, and all of a sudden, you know, it comes to them, and they started to play, and it's starting to get better and better each game, and the kids are just pulling together more than they ever have.
We feel like we belong here, and no matter really what people say about us, we're going to keep going out there and keep playing hard, and we're going to keep trying to win because, you know, I think USC is a great institution, and we're proving to the basketball world that we can compete with anybody.
So against Kentucky and BC, champs of the SEC and the Big East, timely free throws, one of the keys for USC. The blistering starts, they get out. It's tradition taking on Duke in a battle that was much anticipated as an up-and-down game. Didn't really turn out to be that way. Kind of an ugly game. Carlos Boozer back. Of course, Duke won 6 games without him, and he was going to be key. And you can see Watson, boom, upside the head to Dunleavy, who got a stinger. He was run into and had a shoulder problem, but would somehow stay in the game. Duhan finds Boozer down low for the layup. That was his only bucket of the first half, though. Then Watson to get Zurich on the alley-oop, and UCLA back within 6 midway first half. Terribly slow start offensively, though, for both these teams. Williams misses the layup. Battier there to clean up the garbage. He would have 24, and Duke playing with the lead most of the first half. Final seconds, Casey Sanders misses the dunk. Jason Capona, what is he doing in the game with 3 fouls? Picks up number 4.
That was a bad move by Capona, I thought. Getting that 4th foul before Bibby could take him out. That put him in a jam in the second half because they couldn't guard.
They could not guard Jason Williams in the second half, but can anybody in college basketball do that? The 3 from the corner, lays it in off the lob. This was unbelievable. He scored 17 straight Duke points.
No, he had 19, Chris. He had 19 in a row, they told us. Unbelievable performance. I'll tell you this, Chris, no doubt about it. He's the best guard in America. I think he's better than 90% of the guards playing in the NBA.
They could not do it. Going to split the defenders, lays it in. Duke not able to really put away UCLA despite Williams' heroics. So you can see the Bruins kind of hanging around. Later, the loose ball will go on the floor here. Watch the scuffle here.
Oh, yeah,
Earl Watson throwing elbows, going after Williams. These teams would not back down. Magic Johnson did give him a pep talk, told the Bruins never back down against Duke. The most opponents cave in before the opening tip-off.
Well, a lot of people see that Duke jersey, and they really are intimidated. But UCLA is certainly not intimidated. But it was the Jason Williams show, baby. The kid is absolutely sensational.
Duke up 13, 40 seconds to go. And Chris Duhan hustling into the final minute as he dives over the drink baskets and runs into press row. Duke Battier, Williams combining for 58 of the 76 points, and they march on.
I'll tell you one thing, everybody's got that Duke paranoia, guys. I think people are absolutely just so paranoid with Duke. All we hear about is they praise Duke. What is there not to praise? How could you not praise a Jason Williams, a Battier, a Mike Krzyzewski? I think there's a lot of envy, Digger.
You know how Kansas coach Roy Williams brought that little monkey there? He unveiled it to his team in the locker room, brought it to the press conference. Somebody getting a monkey off his back in round 2. Gary Williams has kind of a gorilla on his back. 0-6 in regional semifinals, 0-4 at Maryland. I think he had some pressure as the favorite in this game against the Hoyas in this game. Georgetown fired up in the early going. Terrence Morris for the Terps grabs the offensive board. Nice feed to Lonnie Baxter, the big guy rising to the challenge of the Hoya front line tonight. Later, the Hoyas would turn up the D. Morris blocked by Wesley Wilson. Anthony Perry will hit his only field goal of the night. And the Hoyas did have the early 5-point lead. The Terps bench gets a nice contribution from Martisic in the lane. Go back up by 10. And Drew Nicholas. He'll miss the drive. Chris Wilcox, another young bench player, misses the follow, but Byron Mouton hits the floater at the buzzer, and the Terps lead by 2 at the half. Maryland comes out in the second half, playing hot. Baxter, watch the arrow here.
Yeah, he makes a nice move, goes in, and he just beat up Georgetown in the paint in the second half. He was the difference in Maryland with points as well as rebounds and getting it done.
He was a monster. He had 2 points in that scare against George Mason in the first round. He was a gangster in a 16-4 Maryland run. Terps in transition. Baxter grabs the defensive board, one of 14 rebounds to Nicholas, to Taj Holden, who made some strong contributions off the bench as well. Lee Scruggs tries to bring the Hoyas back, grabs the board. He's blocked by Morris, follows a no miss. Hoyas wouldn't go away. They were within 3 here. Scruggs again.
Well, they really had a tough time shooting the basketball. It was really difficult making some open shots. They make one right there. But it was too much. Baxter had 45 points, 28 rebounds in his last 2 games. He dominated.
Posting up, Mike Sweetney right there, 26 points. And Gary Williams, gorilla off his back, gets to the Elite 8 for the first time as they win it by 10. Kevin Braswell would outduel his close friend from childhood, Juan Dixon, but he had 6 turnovers, and the important thing is Maryland gets the 10-point win, and a touch of sarcasm from Williams at the press conference about getting to uncharted waters.
We win one more game this year, and all of a sudden I'm a lot smarter. So, it's amazing how that works in college basketball now, but that's the way it is. And, I understand, the attention each round you advance, but, I've had some really good players that, we didn't win before past the Sweet 16, but we did get to 5 Sweet 16s in 8 years at Maryland.
It's still Maryland in 17 NCAA tournament appearances has a game. The front line of Bob Huggins, he's been on them all year. Jay Grove getting an earful. Satterfield, though, the guards for Cincy trying to play well early here, knifing through the defense coast to coast. Bearcats within 2. Later, it's a 1-point game in the first half. Jacobson knocking down the big 3. Cardinal could never really put the Bearcats away, though. Emmanuel McEnroe makes a steal. McElroy to Satterfield. Satterfield, the alley-oop. Emmanuel throwing it down on the break, and Cincinnati would have a lead in the final couple minutes of the first half. Jacobson still firing away off the screen from deep behind the NBA line. Cincinnati, though, 2-point lead. When Grove gets it and puts it back up and draws the foul, Cincinnati by 4 at the break. Stanford methodically grinding away, though, in the second half. Mendez knocking down the triple.
He didn't have a triple in the first 2 games, and that's a big one. He can flat out shoot the ball. Best free throw shooter in America.
Look at Jacobson. Tough layup. Gets it to go. And the Collins twins were big, especially in the second half. Just physical force.
Yeah, they really got Cincinnati in foul trouble. They took it inside. The penetration, they shot a lot of free throws. They go on a 20-8 run that puts themselves up with about a 10-point lead as you see this stretch.
There's Jerem with the fadeaway jumper. Stanford beginning to put him away. Mendez, Jacobson, another tough lay-in.
Too much balance, too much inside-outside play. A super team. There's no question about it. That's why they've been #1 most of the year.
McDonald gets the steal. He'll feed Mendez. And Stanford pulls away late for the 13-point win. They trail again by 4 at halftime, outscore them by 17 in the second half. Jacobson, 8 of 13 for 27 points. That's a career high.
Well, to me, it was Casey Jacobson in the first half, but it was Mendez. He only scored 2 points in the first half, He ends up getting 14 to second. He took the game over with Jacobson and the Collins twins. They were just too much down the end for Stanford to move on.
For defense, and that was appropriate because Ole Miss and Arizona played a real strong defensive game, translate kind of an ugly offensive game. First ever Sweet 16 for Ole Miss, a team made up entirely of guys from Mississippi and Arkansas. Arizona, of course, used to marching deep into the tournament in its history, but this group of guys, 5 starters from 5 different states for Lute Olson, well, enjoyed that many deep runs into the NCAA tournament in their careers. Justin Reed from the foul line for Ole Miss. Then inside, David Sanders fed by Raheem Lockhart. Ole Miss jumping out early. Reed, the runner. Jason Holmes knocks down the triple. A 16-zip Ole Miss run up 18-6 early. Arizona would fight back. Woods with a miss, but Gene Edgerson contributed big on the boards.
They started beating them up inside. That was Arizona's straight, and you can see that come together in the first half.
As Michael Wright gets the feed down low. Arizona back within 3. And Ole Miss watched its lead shrink down to 1 at halftime. Second half, Jason Gardner pressured, looks up, and Lauren Woods would really get involved in the second half.
I'll tell you, he's become really aggressive, very active, had 12.7 rebounds in the second half, and dominated. It was his defensive performance that made it special.
Gilbert Arenas, the steal and the dunk, and Arizona edges in front by 3. Arenas 3 steals on the night. Jefferson makes the steal. He goes all the way, and Arizona swarming defensively on an Ole Miss team that kind of struggles. Barnes' team could not buy shots, and Wood plowing through the lane. Misses right there for the putback. 7 boards for Wright. He also chipped in with 10 points. Here he misses for Jefferson for the tip in. Arizona just quick leapers off the floor.
They did a great job. Their defensive intensity really picked up in the second half, and Ole Miss was not scoring, especially on the perimeter.
There's Gardner breaking down the defense. Lute and company advance with the 10-point win. They now won 16 out of their last 18. They do it without hitting a 3-point shot. In fact, in 3 tournament games, Arizona's only 6 for 30 from behind the line. That does not concern, at this point, Lute Olson. This game team hanging in there, but once again, the strength and numbers of Bill Self's team and the inside power winning out in the end, and Frank Williams winning out. His shot misses there, but Brian Cook flying in for the putback. Cook with an outlet to Williams, who really showcased his skills tonight. The Illini up 10 points very early in this game. Kansas would bounce back after a very slow offensive start. Collison grabs the missed free throw, scores, draws the foul. Kansas back within 4. Then Kenny Gregory to Kirk Heinrich in transition, and it's suddenly a 2-point game. But the Illini closed the first half strong. There's Williams.
I'll tell you, Frank Williams was absolutely super.
Floater.
He did it all. He had the floater in the lane. He had the jumper. He had the drives to the basket. Anytime they needed a big play, Frank Williams was a PTPer. He was awesome, baby, with a capital A.
Brett Ballard finds Gregory for the alley-oop. The Jayhawks still hanging around, down 7, hanging around. Collison to the hoop, finishes with the dunk, hanging around, down 5, but Williams just wouldn't let the comeback happen. You can't leave him alone out there. Illinois back up 8. Williams again, driving baseline, misses the shot, but very quick off the floor to tip his own miss in. Illinois just wouldn't let him get close.
That was the key. I'll tell you something. Illinois did a great job of making sure they knew where to go. Look at the penetration. Kansas could not catch up. They were jumped out 4-zip to start the game. They never got back in the game again. And when you look at there's my guy, Casey, you got to love Lucas Johnson, and what he did is the spark in that first half to give him that lead.
We didn't show highlights of Lucas Johnson, but he was
fired up for the Temple Owls.
Let's hoop.
Sure, they can chant, but can they stop the Owls? Alex Wesby drilling a 3-ball, then Lynn Greer coming back. Lynn Greer is just smooth between the rings and knocking down the 3 himself. The Owls by 18 at the break. Second half, we've got a scramble. We've got Greg Jefferson penetrating and hitting with the left hand and the foul. John Chaney's team goes on to win at 84-72. Joe Crispin just 4 of 11 in his final game for Penn State. Kevin Lyde, 13 points, 13 boards. The Owls have won their 3 games by an average margin of 15 points, thoroughly dominating so far. The 69-year-old Chaney 1 win away from his first Final Four.
It is most surprising that we got here with about 7 usable players. We got 9 players, and we used about 7. That is the most unusual thing that has ever happened to me in my life.
To take him somewhere he's never been on a Division I level, he's definitely deserving of it. And we definitely were rating. We have the opportunity to do it right now. So it would be a great feeling, you know, that we can do it for him.
Did the Zags have one more zig left, taking on Michigan State? Nice passing. Zach Gord with the right hand. That is Gonzaga basketball. The Bulldogs by 3. This is Michigan State basketball. Just pounded inside to Andre Hudson. He had 19 and 10 boards. The Spartans just a little bit deeper. Marcus Taylor off the bench. The Spartans bench outscored the Zags 25-4. Then Hudson played half 2 with a nasty leg cramp, and it just didn't matter. The Spartans too big and too strong. 77-62 the final. The Spartans out-rebounded the Zags 49-29. Dan Dickhouse shot just 6 of 17 as the Spartans harassed him all night. The Zags went over 8 minutes in the second half without a bucket.